Hello, Mandy Pickens, resident of Atascadero. I've also had the opportunity to read the draft temporary event ordinance and attended the last Planning Commission hearing, and feel that there is an unbalanced and unfair representation of the county's interest at large. Removing commercial events from being allowed in ag land use category is a drastic change. The ag industry needs the flexibility to provide supplemental income in other ways than just ag operations alone. Limiting allowed uses rather than creating ag-related alternative uses can cause a hindrance for ag property owners. What has driven this restriction? We have a successful winery ordinance in place that allows these type of events that is a working example. Why can't we continue to follow this example and make it fair for all ag property owners? The goal for this county should be to help the ag industry by allowing diversified uses on ag property, while at the same time find a balance for the community. The draft ordinance that we have before us today does not deliver this intent. In addition, the nonprofit industry is now affected by these changes proposed. Once again, this industry is now facing limitations on number of events, size, etc., rather than being supported and finding creative ways to allow the industry to operate. We all know that this is hard enough to run a nonprofit organization without the financial advantage that other businesses offer, especially in this economy. There are significant changes that have been made to this draft, and the people who will be affected most have not been aware or informed of these modifications until now, and I think it's great that everybody has come out to speak today to give their input. I feel that a simple solution would be to provide workshops potentially held at community advisory group meetings where the ag industry, ag tourism work group, nonprofit industry, and other various stakeholders can be notified to attend. This draft will benefit from community input, and thus a more well-rounded ordinance will result. We need more community awareness when there are significant changes to county regulations. Therefore, I ask the members of the Planning Commission grant staff's recommendation to refer this draft ordinance to the Ag Tourism Work Group, county departments, and other interest groups for comments. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Cameron Ingalls, and I'm a wedding photographer here in San Luis Obispo. I've been in business for 6 years. I'm a resident as well, and I want to speak on behalf of the wedding industry regarding commercial events. And there's over 40, I shoot over 40 different weddings here a year, and from hotels to barns to fields to whatever people can book venues for. And I speak to hundreds of brides a year, and these brides and these people want to get married here in San Luis Obispo because it's such a beautiful place. A lot of people come to Cal Poly and then they go and find their careers in LA or out of state, and they want to return here and have their wedding as a destination wedding. And I find so many of them want to get married on land and with the beauty of the nature surrounding them. And so I'm here to represent the option to have commercial events on agriculture land. There's over 50 weddings on any given Saturday here, and I don't think that the hotels can adequately support that. And so we need to provide the ag lands as venues for that. And yeah, so I would just encourage everyone to allow ag land for commercial events. It stimulates the economy, it brings people in from out of town. If they're here for the weekend, they're spending money on hotels and eating out and everything. So that's all. Thank you.
Dana Merrill, I'm a vineyard owner in Templeton, own a small family winery, and I'm also speaking as chairman of the San Luis Obispo County Wine PAC. We understand that this ordinance is not specifically aimed toward wineries. However, if it's enacted as it is, as has been mentioned, I think it could possibly be a blueprint for future changes that would affect us. I mean, I hear the word minor use permit and $4,000, yeah, and it'll go exponentially up. I'd encourage you to think of a whole new fee schedule and pick a different term, because I just went through one. I did very well. I didn't have any trouble, but I can assure you it's not fast and it's not cheap. I also say that whether you charge or make a profit or don't make a profit, a lot of cases have really little impact on the land. And the fact that an ag operation might make a profit, I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. And I think you ought to make it simpler. I don't think you need more things to enforce. You're not going to have the people, you're not going to have the money. Come up with a more passive way to have some rules and then have some reasonable way to check up on it.
Joy Fitzhugh, San Luis Obispo County Farm Bureau, and thank you for the ability to be able to speak today. I have attended a number of especially the subcommittees meetings. I appreciate all the work that's gone on, but I agree with Karen Null, we need to go back off calendar, go back to the original working groups to work this through. I think one of the things that is a major problem is that you're trying to create an ordinance that's a one-size-fits-all for a 10-acre parcel versus a 10,000-acre parcel. And I'll give you an example of why I say this. The hours of operation from 10 a.m. to 5:30, or no, well, it'll be 5:30 in the winter, to an hour and a half after sunset. Now, if you're on 10,000 acres and 4 miles from anybody else, there is no reason to have this limited to any sort of hours. And again, I do agree that if you have an overnight event, where do you fit into all this? You don't. So I think you have to really take a good look. One size like this does not fit all. Lastly, and being real short about all of this, commercial is not bad. It's how you use the commercial, and I think eliminating commercial activities such as weddings from the agricultural category is not appropriate, and I hope this will be reconsidered. But mostly, please go off calendar with this, go back to the original advisory groups, the committees, and take a good look at this. It is way too complex, way too complicated.
I am a resident of Avila Valley. I do remember when this started in 2004, and I would just like to say we totally enjoy the activities that occur at the resort. Sometimes we can hear the music, and we're quite a distance away. We don't find it offensive. We really enjoy it. We also walk along the Bob Jones Trail from our home to the event. Many people park on Ontario and walk. So please keep these things in mind as you're debating this issue. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Jackie Crabb. I'm with the Farm Bureau. We have a membership of over 2,000. And I'd like to point out the legislative intent that was added to the draft. That's on page 3.2-5 in the staff report. And if you note that there is nothing in there that talks about the economic benefit to the community as well as to the farmers and ranchers. It sets a negative tone, and I believe that's the direction of why we're seeing the ordinance go the way it is and not allowing special events on ag land. It needs to be rewritten, it needs to be positive, and it needs to talk about the benefits. Second, you need to go back and look at the original draft of when we wrote the special events on ag land. We did look at the concerns on compatibility with the long use term of agriculture on the land. We also addressed incidental and secondary to the primary ag use. However, that I believe you are not looking at again and using that as the reason for not having these special events on ag land. However, you have decided now that these special events can be on ag land just under the category of public assembly and if you have an old barn. Again, I would like to stress that you need to come back to the exemption of the government and the ag nonprofits. We have the UC Cooperative Extension, the Central Coast Vineyard Team, the NRCS, the RCDs. They all provide a benefit to agriculture. We need them, and to burden them with having to go through an application form and the standards that are set there is wrong, and they are not a problem and have never been. And lastly, we do recommend that, we do agree with the staff's recommendation that this needs to go back to the Ag Tourism Work Group, and I distinguish that from the Ag Tourism Coalition, two different groups. And the Ag Tourism Work Group has worked on this for well over 2 years. They have got the stakeholders there. The process that you are going through right now is that you are having a subcommittee meet 1 hour during lunch or in closed doors, and then you ask for the response from the community, the stakeholders. You give us 3 minutes, and a lot of it is knee-jerk reaction. In fact, you made a mistake on, that's understandable, we all do, on the number of people for the nonprofits, and you had people take time off from work to come here. And so you need to really consider taking it back, and I recommend that the 3 or 2 commissioners join in on that as well. Thank you.